are out to commit murder. There's no doubt about that, and we saw it in the most tragic terms on Saturday evening, and sadly we've seen another attempt at it tonight again in Craigavon. So they are determined. I think that they have clearly made the decision to increase the level of their violence, to increase the frequency of their attacks. The Chief Constable has indicated that the threat level is severe, and I hope everyone takes that seriously. We all have a responsibility now to be vigilant. As Detective Superintendent Williamson said, there are people out there in the community who are harbouring these murderers. There are people who know who committed this atrocity in Antrim. There are people who will know the men, perhaps women, who were involved in this attack tonight in Craigavon. They have a responsibility to share that information with the police.
And Jerry Kelly, you would endorse what Jeffrey Dawson just said there.
We said very clearly today. Let me just say this, and I don't at all disagree with what Jeffrey's been saying. But watch that we don't, when you talk about a community harbouring, there are people beyond these three people who were involved in the Saturday night's attack. There are people beyond who was involved in the attack tonight, but that is not the community. That is a small number of people. And just that carefulness, that we don't then start saying that it's communities who are bagging them. I can tell you quite clearly it is not communities that are bagging.
I appreciate the even-handedness and the level-headed language that was used today. I mean, we're not used to hearing this from the politicians, certainly whenever there have been past atrocities, Jerry Dawson.
Well, this is not a time, Paul, for petty party political point scoring. This is a time to rise above that. We've got to give leadership to the community. The community is crying out for that leadership. People that I have talked to want to know that their politicians are not going to allow the political process to be derailed. And as you heard Henry MacDonald describe, the strategy of these dissidents has one objective, and that is to pull the institutions down, to destroy the progress that we've made. They offer nothing, absolutely nothing to the people of Northern Ireland. They want to pull us back to the dark days of the past, and we mustn't allow Northern Ireland to go there. That's why we've got to be determined to keep the political process going, but secondly, to ensure that everyone cooperates with the police to bring these murderers to justice.
Jerry Kelly, do you think that many of your former colleagues in the IRA are in the real IRA?
Well, first of all, I believe it is a small organisation, so no, I don't believe that there are many there. Could there be people who were originally in the IRA who are in this? Yes, they could be. And, whoever it might be, let me be very clear about it, they are wrong. What they are doing is futile. They don't, I know that they have a name, but they don't have a strategy for a united Ireland, and they will claim that they are fighting for a united Ireland. Remember, this was 2009. This is 11 years after the Good Friday Agreement was signed up to, after institutions were set up. It is even longer than that since there was IRA ceasefires. This is an entirely different place that we're in now, that we were in 10, 15, 20 or 30 years ago. And they need to realise that that is the situation they're in. If they claim, if I could just say this, if they claim that they are fighting for people, then they have to have the support of the people. And what is very, very clear today is that they do not have that support.
Well, can I just make a point here? When you consider the ruthlessness with which these murders were carried out, the men who did this are seasoned killers. The men who did this, I regret to say, have probably done it before. Therefore, there are people out there who know who these men were. The gunmen on Saturday evening, they know who they were. They will have a reputation within republicanism. It's important that those people are given up, that the information is given to the police and they're brought to justice.
Gentlemen, thank you both very much indeed, Jeffrey Dawson and Jerry Kelly. So, who are the real IRA? Shane Lockery has been looking at the terrorist organisation which struck with such deadly consequences on Saturday. Our report contains footage of the dissident Republican group which has never been aired publicly before. Up until now, these men had been considered a potential threat, but they are moving out of the shadows and with deadly force.
The Real IRA claims this footage shows its members taking part in a training exercise along the border. It was given to the Northern editor of the Sunday Tribune newspaper, who interviewed two members of the dissident Republican group last February. Suzanne Breen also took the phone call from the organisation on Sunday, when it admitted carrying out the murders of the two young soldiers at Mazarine Barracks. The Dissident Republican Group, which was formed in 1997, is one of a number of splinter groups which broke away from the Provisional IRA over its decision to end its campaign of violence for a united Ireland. In 1998 it bombed Omagh, killing 31 people including unborn twins. In 2002 it murdered David Caldwell, a former UDR member who died when a booby-trapped device inside a lunchbox exploded at a territorial army base in Derry. In 2007 it tried to kill 2 Catholic police officers in Derry and Dungannon. Last August, Semtex, formerly owned by the IRA, was used in this rocket attack on 3 officers in Lisnaskea, but it failed to go off. 3 weeks ago, a 300-pound bomb destined for the Ballykinler army base was intercepted by the security forces in Castlewellan.
I think what will worry the security forces is that they would have expected an attack perhaps in Derry, perhaps in South Down, an area along the border where the real IRA is regarded as strong, but for the organisation to be able to operate in Antrim, which isn't a nationalist, let alone a Republican area, I think that will worry the security services here.
The real IRA has between 200 and 300 members, many disaffected provisionals, others new recruits, and it's thought the murders of the 2 soldiers will increase its ranks.
It presents the biggest threat of any of the dissident groups. I think again what's worrying for the security forces is that the attack in Mazarine will act as a recruiting sergeant for the real IRA, especially among working class Republican youth. They will now be saying, well, this organisation has targeted security personnel in Northern Ireland. It is the first to have actually inflicted fatalities, and anyone who is disaffected and has traditional Republican ideologies will be wanting to join the organisation.
With almost 5,000 troops still stationed here, security at army bases is expected to be tightened. Jane Lockery, UTV Live, Belfast.
Well, questions are being asked about the capabilities of the real IRA, and Mark Mallet examines the security expert's view.
This latest propaganda video by the real IRA, filmed in February of last year, aims to prove the terrorist organisation's capabilities. And one local security expert says the weapons on show certainly highlight the group's deadly potential.
The question on the weaponry initially would be that it's real. Would be the first thing. It's not the sort of weaponry that would tend to find its way into shops where imitations are made of, and it's very capable weaponry insofar as it's capable of automatic gunfire, and there'll be a substantial attack could be mounted with it.
What about the masked men who appear in this video then, Colin?
The men who appear in the video would strike me as being slightly more mature than what we've been used to carrying out terrorist attacks over the years. Perhaps not simply because there haven't been any terrorist attacks for some time that they have matured. I certainly wouldn't think it's their first outing carrying weapons and indeed making propaganda videos such as this.
Put the two together, and are these the sort of terrorists who could have carried out this attack on Saturday night?
Well, certainly that weaponry that they have displayed in the video would be very capable of carrying out the attack. My understanding is there were 2 gunmen, there was automatic gunfire, and the weapons that are on display there would be more than capable of that. Their readiness to use them, and use them quite ruthlessly, would again tie me back to the people who are more mature rather than youngsters who are having their first blooding.
And are they likely to have a bigger infantry other than what we see here?
Well, that's always going to be a guessing match, but obviously most of their recruits would come from former Provisional IRA members, those who are disgruntled, so there would be a wealth of experience in acts of terrorism. Now, there'll be some younger people who will come on board with them simply because of the excitement. They've never done it and they want to do it, but these guys are more mature and obviously quite ruthless in the fact that they've decided to go against the provisionals and carry on the movement would further imply that their ruthlessness.
Where have these weapons